Scores of illegal guns confiscated from the streets of Cape Town every single week, yet gang violence and shootings continue unabated. Some would even argue that the shootings are getting even worse. Police say, on average, 40 guns a week, along with hundreds of rounds of ammunition, are confiscated. But communities on the Cape Flats say they still live in constant fear. Even though more guns are being removed, more seem to find their way back to these gang-plagued areas. Normally on these stories for us, and still is, thankfully, reporter Ayesha Ismail visiting Hanover Park. Hello to you, Ayesha. You're joining us from Cape Town this evening, and it doesn't actually make sense. For those of us who do not know the Hanover Park area, the logic doesn't work. Police come in, guns get confiscated, yet we see the number of killings going up with these kinds of guns. Why is that? Take us into Hanover Park.
Hi, Gareth. And so it's not only Hanover Park that is plagued by gang violence and drugs. So when I went to Hanover Park this morning, I spent quite a while there speaking to residents, and many of them were, they wanted to talk, they want their voices to be heard, but they were actually afraid to speak to me outside. They also didn't want to have their faces and their names used on television, but they did invite me into their homes because they want to tell their stories, and they talk about how difficult it is for them to sleep at night. They always live in fear. They fear for their lives every single day. They hear gunshots every day. It's a sound that has become all too familiar, yet it is something, and you can imagine, every time there's a gunshot, they fear, they run outside because they don't know. It could be a child of theirs, it could be a relative, it could be a neighbor that has been shot. But I did have an opportunity to speak to the Provincial Commissioner of the Western Cape the other day, and he was saying that yes, while they are making progress in confiscating unlicensed illegal firearms from the streets of Cape Town almost every single day, they do find that, it's almost the more they confiscate, the more the guns, find their way back onto the streets in the hands of gangsters. And he was saying to me, this could happen, and this could be for a variety of reasons. For example, when people die, these guns are left behind and it falls into the wrong hands. He also talks about negligence, where people leave their firearms in cars, and then some people just leave their firearms in homes and they're not put into a safe. Then he gave me an example of how he's seeing actually an increase in firearms being stolen from security companies. These guns are either being stolen when security companies or security guards are being held up, but a lot of the guns are being lost by security companies. And then, of course, he said to me that neighboring countries are a big problem, where he gave me an example of they confiscated and they are in possession of 80 guns from Namibia. He also talked about Zimbabwe and Lesotho. So there seems to be a major problem with guns coming into this province, while at the same time police are doing whatever they can to remove these illegal guns from the streets of Cape Town. But this is what one of the women that I spoke to in Hanover Park had to say to me earlier today.
Every day I shoot. Every day. I don't even want to walk outside because I have a case against him where they shoot my son, and he came to the hospital there. I just felt to say I'm gonna finish him off and take his body. So I called the police and I made a case against him there in Menenberg. He came there with 4 men.
Do we know about the stories, Ayesha, of those in areas like the Cape Flats, like Hanover Park? I know right now we're talking about Hanover Park, but it's a much bigger systemic issue, isn't it? Do we know about those who are able to get out?
Well, as you say, it's not only Hanover Park, it's areas like Menenberg, Parkwood, Steenberg, Lavender Hill. It is across the Cape Flats, Guguletu, Khayelitsha, Langa. We hear of these shootings almost every single day happening in mostly working class and impoverished areas. People saying that they can't even go to work because they fear that they will be caught in the crossfire. They also fear that they would be be injured and not be able to go back home or even go back to work. So there is this continuous and constant fear of people on the Cape Flats, and it's just, Gareth, it is a sad situation because people do, if one looks at the unemployment rate on the Cape Flats, it's already so high, and the fact that people are too afraid to even go to work because they fear that they're going to be caught in the crossfire is really worrying and shocking. Let's listen to what this lady had to say to me earlier today.
Then I freeze, and when I hear it, I get out. I was sleeping when I heard that gunshots. I would jump out of the bed, put on my slippers, I went out. Because my kids are outside. And when I got outside, they were in the yard. I was just glad they were in the yard. So I heard Liam was shoot. Then the car come down the road again into the court, and he just shot into both courts. And then there was an innocent guy laying in the one court, and the other one in the other court. Innocent people.
All right, Ayesha Ismail, thank you very much. As you and I sit here now, of course, viewers can expect a full report from you with more of those harrowing details of what it's like to live in Hanover Park. But as you said, Ayesha, it's not just Hanover Park. For those of us not in Cape Town, there are so many areas dealing with this every single day. But thank you for bringing it to our attention, as she always does, eNCA senior reporter Ayesha Ismail. Expect that report on gang violence and gun violence in the Cape Flats later here on eNCA.